and welcome to the Doofcast, a film and TV podcast from Doof Media. I am your host, Scott Daly, and I'm joined, as always, by the spooky face I dreamed about hanging out behind this diner. It's Matt Friedman. How's it going today, Matt?
Had to leave some silence there to build the tension, you understand?
Oh, I see, yeah.
I'm doing scary, real scary. That's how I'm doing.
Just back there with your blue cube, just hanging out.
It's a symbol.
Back there.
It's very metaphorical.
Yeah, for what?
Gosh, you don't know? You don't know what it's a symbol for? Huh.
This week on the show, our continuing series of Blind Spots continues as we go through our 10 selected films from the BFI Sight and Sound 2022 Critics Poll of the top 100 films of all time. This week we are on Matt's fifth and final pick of the series. We're going to be talking about the 2001 David Lynch film Mulholland Drive, a perfectly simple and easy to understand movie by Mr. David Lynch.
Uh-huh.
And then after we have this what I'm sure will be a straightforward and easy to follow conversation, we will just have a quick talk about some new stuff. We do the latest and greatest. I think we're going to talk about the Furiosa trailer that just came out like 10 minutes before we started recording, and also Squid Game. We talk about Squid Game.
Yeah, Squid Game real life version.
My subtitle for this section of the podcast is "Movies are so back and TV is so dead."
Okay. I like it.
All right, Matt, let's get into our main topic of the evening. Let's talk all about Mulholland Drive. Matt, what is this movie all about?
Apparently someone wrote, after a car wreck on the winding Mulholland Drive renders a woman amnesiac, she and a perky Hollywood hopeful search for clues and answers across Los Angeles in a twisting venture beyond dreams and reality.
I'll take it.
Sure. Yeah.
This movie was written and directed by Mr. David Lynch. It stars Naomi Watts, Laura Herring, and Justin Theroux. It was number 8 on the Critics Sight and Sound poll, the 8th best film of all time, according to this group of polled critics. And Matt, you had obviously never seen this movie. That's why it's called Blind Spots. So tell me, what did you think of David Lynch's Mulholland Drive?
Yeah, I just watched it for the first time. And I very much still processing. And I think that's going to always be the case when it comes to some of these greatest movies, is there's so much going on in them that they refuse to be interpreted in one sitting. It's funny. You can't just be like, oh, I enjoyed it, I had a good time. It's like, it's a nightmare, right? It's a bizarre, surrealistic dreamscape, sort of narrativeless, characters turn into totally other characters with no explanation. There are like hints as to what might be happening, but certainly nothing definitive. You do not get the skeleton key that unlocks the movie. And I guess my thesis statement would be, there is no skeleton key that unlocks the movie, because this is not that kind of movie. It is not a puzzle box that's asking you to interpret it, figure out what is Lynch really saying. It's sort of, I think Lynch's thing is actually more like, it is what it is. Take it at face value. It's an emotional thing that's going to wash over you and seep into your psyche and influence you subliminally. And he doesn't, I don't think he has like this is the thing I was trying to say with this movie. I don't think he thinks that way, but I'm happy to talk about it, and maybe you disagree. What are your feelings about this movie?
Yeah, I really like this movie. I do. This is the third or fourth time I've seen it, and it's the first time I've really talked about it on any kind of podcast where I have to sound intelligent. And I was really hoping on this rewatch to walk into this and be like, all right, Matt, here's the Scott Daly theory on Mulholland Drive. Here's what it's about, and I am confident in this. And I don't know. I've like I said, third time I've watched this movie, I still have no idea what half of the stuff is happening in this movie. And I think it speaks to exactly what you're talking about, that I regardless, I love it. I love the experience of watching this film. I don't understand half of it. Is there some overarching idea. I mean, there's lots of themes, like there's lots of motifs, there's lots of things we can talk about here today. We can talk about the allure of Hollywood and the destruction of it. We can talk about Lynch's obviously like very jaded view of how this business works and operates, I think, is in here. We could talk about the power of dream and dream logic and just all these different things. We could talk about romance and love. They're all in here. But yeah, is it like, I think you're so right that it's not like, I heard someone say like David Lynch like makes mystery stories where he wants you to be the detective
Uh-huh.
and piece everything together. And I'm like, I guess in that he doesn't tell you anything, both in his films and outside his films. Like he flat out refuses to tell anyone what this movie's about. Like he just won't, which I actually admire. But I feel like in this movie, the actual thing is like if you're trying to like piece and chain things together like that, I feel like you're missing the point a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I actually fully think that this movie makes the most sense if you just view it as a dream.
Yeah.
And you think, David Lynch is a man who he's very sort of spiritual, esoteric guy. He's been into meditation for his whole life. It's kind of a thing with him. He's very, in interviews he comes across very, very strangely because his theory of narrative is just not at all the traditional theory of narrative for what you would call mainstream storytellers. It's a funny coincidence, or maybe it's not a coincidence, but just this last week I resumed dream journaling after like 15 years of not doing that. So it was already kind of on my mind how just the idea of dreams and how dreams are this fascinating, really kind of amazing and probably underappreciated aspect of human existence where you'll wake up and you'll be like you're aware that you were just in this complex situation with multiple like different characters doing different things and saying things and reacting, and it was all happening in real time, and there was this horrible feeling of dread or maybe happiness or something associated with it in some powerful way, or some incredible image unlike anything you've ever seen before, or you're wandering through some space that's nothing you've ever, it's this an enormous act of imagination and creativity that you don't feel like you're imagining or creating. You feel like it's just happening to you, and then you wake up and you're like, oh, I had a dream, and then you forget about it forever, right? So like that's why that's actually why I think the practice of dream journaling is cool. It's just kind of a pain to do it, but it's like if you write the dream down, you remember it, and then it's like, yeah, there's this like thing, there's this experience I had that I get to remember now. Point of bringing that up is to say the movie is just a dream. Like it I mean, you can interpret it however you like, but it has things that are totally unconnected from other things, like the guy in the diner who
Seeing
wants
the
to
spooky face. Yeah.
with the spooky face behind the diner, and it's really just like that's the kind of interlude that you would have in a dream where it's like, yeah, and then there was the thing with the guy in the diner, and he was terrified, and I had this feeling of foreboding and dread, and then he goes behind, and like the feeling of that felt more like a nightmare than any film I've ever seen. In terms of the dread and anxiety that you don't fully understand, but it's just seeping into you. I think that's the thing about Lynch. People say that he channels from his subconscious and his unconscious, and it's like, I don't think he just channels from it. I think he studies the way in which dream logic works, and how you can have a scene that operates on dream logic and not logic, and come away from it with an incredibly strong feeling.
Yeah.
Even though it makes no narrative sense at all. And that's fascinating. And it's also sort of obvious because you wake up from a dream and you have an incredibly strong feeling, and it made no narrative sense at all. So clearly we're capable of processing things that way. And he just goes all the way with it. He's just like, yeah, maybe there's a story you could put together, but it's the same way that you wake up from a dream the next morning and you kind of retroactively make sense of what the dream was,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I just loved just listening to you talk there for the last couple of minutes because I love this whole thing, and I agree with you. I mean, I think there's interpretations of this movie you could have, like you could sit down and say, well, I think that the Betty portion of the film is a dream of the what was the other character's name? Um, I don't even remember.
Which version of the other character?
Like I think Diane Selwyn is the real version, right? That's
Sure.
that's the real character, and the Betty version is her. This jaded Hollywood actress who hasn't made it, who came to the town thinking she was going to make it. She just imagines this dream world where she shows up, meets this woman that is really important to her in real life, and also is just like the best actress, is just like fucking awesome at this, and everyone immediately recognizes how awesome like that is a fair interpretation of the movie, right? That
Sure.
she has this reality that's going on. But the problem with that interpretation is there's still a lot of dreamy shit in the Diane Selwyn section as well.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of it. So that it's not as cut and dry as that whole thing. Like it would be one thing if like you have this hour and 40 minutes of this movie that feels very dreamlike and very otherworldly, and you're cutting between scenes that don't have any kind of connection, and then we switch and Diane Selwyn wakes up, and then the film is filmed normally, and then you go, oh yes, we're no longer in dream logic world. But that's not what that's not what Lynch does. The stuff with Diane Selwyn is just as off-putting and dream logic-y and quick cutting and disparate. Like there's no cohesion to the narrative. There's no like, the thing that I find really fascinating about it is the one thing we talk about with stories so much is the because therefore of it, right? The idea that in a story things are connected through a chain of someone does something and therefore something else happens, and this is the basics of good narrative. And like this movie just, it says I don't care about any of that. Like there's some of it, I mean there's some of it like within a scene, within a sequence, you see that, but like across the plot, no, there's none of that. And yet it still works on me.
Yeah. Well, it works scene by scene. It works. I mean, there's several vignettes in there. I don't know what other word to use for it.
I think that's a fair one. Yeah.
For example, the hitman is going to get an address book from a guy.
Oh my god.
And it's like a sort of extremely weird tone, almost comedic scene.
It's hilarious. It's like a Cohen thing. Like
yes, that's great. Yeah, like dark humor Cohen comedy where he kills all these people, and then steals the address book, and you never, or the name book, whatever it is, you never find out why. Maybe it's related to the mobsters, but it's like, why do I say that? I really just say that because it like happens in proximity to the scene that involves mobsters. Like there's no real plot reason to assume that it would have anything to do with those characters. All of the stuff with the mobsters is extremely strange and inexplicable. Let's see. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, my interpretation of that, or what the movie wants you to think, I guess, is that yes, he is getting that book to look, because they're looking for Rita, right? Like they're looking for Rita. Rita is missing, and for some reason the mobsters want to find her, and they've also hired this hitman to do so, possibly. But yeah, like none of it connects. Like we don't know why they're looking for Rita. It seems like they were going to kill her, possibly, at the very, very beginning.
But
yeah.
But why were they trying to kill her, right? And even like, that's the thing. I think I had the same thought that you just said, where it's like, they're looking for information to try to find Rita. But then I think about that, and I'm like, that feels like the same mental operation that I do when I'm like, okay, in the dream last night, I was wandering the halls of a hotel. Why was I doing that? Why was I in a hotel? Well, in the prior scene, I had found a wallet on the ground. Maybe I was looking to return the wallet to someone in the hotel. And it's like, fundamentally, that's bullshit. Like I just made something up to explain. And like that's kind of what I always feel like I'm doing when I'm thinking about this movie. I feel like I'm making something up to explain a connection, which the movie does not. again, like I think you just said this basically, that like Lynch doesn't, I don't remember exactly how you phrased it, but Lynch doesn't hold your hand. Lynch doesn't have the detective character piecing things together.
Yeah.
Lynch is just showing you things. So a normal sort of director would be like, give you that either image or line of dialogue or whatever that connects A to C via B. And Lynch just shows you A and shows you C and leaves you to imagine what B must have been.
but there is no B. Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
like, what is the B of this movie? Because like the plot, the central plot of the Betty Rita relationship is Rita is this woman who was with the mob, like hit her head, lost her memory. She's with Betty, this fresh, wide-eyed new LA resident, and they are trying to track down who she is. And to do this, they wander into the apartment of someone whose name she kind of sort of recognizes, and find out she's dead, and has been dead for some time. And then they go to they go to a nightclub called Silencio and listen to this frankly beautiful performance, like wonderful and emotionally impactful performance, and they are moved by it. And then they open a blue box. The end.
Uh-huh.
That's the end. That's the end of that part now.
Yep. Totally
And
new movie now.
yeah,
And yet not though, right?
and yet not. Yeah, like yeah. But like the detective story of that, like, that is what is the mystery we're trying to solve? Well, who is Rita? That doesn't, no, we're not solved.
Uh-huh.
Why are people after her? Not solved. What is the blue key? Not solved. Where did the money come from? Not solved. None of these are mysteries that are solved and need to be solved. And the thing I like about talking about dream logic and trying to piece things together, the thing about dreams that is so weird and interesting is when you're in them in the moment, the beat to beat cause and effect chain in your mind of all these things makes perfect sense to you. Like, because you're not really thinking about it, it's just happening to you, and it's like your brain is like filling in the background of why all this makes perfect sense to you. And then it's only after you wake up that you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And that's this movie to a T. Like and things will happen. Like the entire side story with the director makes a really interesting like examination of Hollywood. But then things will happen where like Betty will walk in and Adam and her will have like two separate moments where the camera like zooms in on them seeing each other. And it's just like, whoa, that was something. Like, that the language of cinema is telling me something important just happened there.
Yeah.
And no, it didn't.
Nothing ever happens there. Yeah, no, that's fascinating. I really, I mean, I almost feel like I'm repeating myself, but I agree so much with what you just said about sort of confabulating an explanation for something having made sense retrospectively. And I mean, I really, in this conversation, I keep thinking about dreams that I've had where like, I distinctly remember one time where I was trying to lucid dream. This was a long time ago. And the thing in lucid dreams, you should try to, if you suspect you're dreaming, you should try to read something, because you either can't read in a dream, or like the words will change as you're looking at them, or like you can read them and then look away and then look back and they'll have changed. There's all kinds of weird stuff you can do, or just basically you can't read normally in a dream. And I was in this dream and I it was like I did something, like I was looking at a clock or something, because I was like, oh, I want to see if I'm in a dream. I'll look at that clock face, and the clock face was like, planets orbiting each other or something ridiculous. and my brain was like, yeah, that's what a clock looks like. And I just went on with the dream. Like, I just explained what I saw as like, yeah, that's normal. And that's the kind of, it's the kind of mental act that we're sort of always doing subliminally and not realizing it actually. And the movie, I think, really plays with that fact, because it'll show you these things and you don't even realize that you have invented an explanation or a piece of connective tissue, or a meaningful glance between two characters. You're like, oh, okay, that's got to mean something. And it's like, well, does it have to mean something? Is it,
Yeah.
was that a meaningful glance? Like, you're projecting all of this, right? And it makes you really aware of the role you're playing in watching a movie, which is, I don't know, maybe one of the reasons why it's so close to the very top of the AFI list. Is it's playing with these things that other movies just sort of take for granted or just implement in a craftsman-like fashion.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. It is kind of remarkable to me how Lynch does this. That like, because I mean, the closest I have to this whole concept and idea is I very often do not remember my dreams at all. Like it is very rare for me like to wake up and have memory about what I was dreaming about. But I do have the experience of waking up and having a very clear memory of what I was dreaming about, and then trying to convey that to someone, trying to be like, oh babe, you gotta listen to this weird dream I just had, and you start talking about it, and then you're immediately like, wait, what?
Uh-huh.
No, but there was and then like by the end of it you're just like, it's just evolved into nonsense. And Lynch has captured that
Yeah.
feeling, like
Yeah.
has captured that whole thing like perfectly. Has just like, you're trying to relay a story in a dream, and you're like you're losing it as you go. And then it's like, oh, and then there was this hitman, oh, and this part was crazy, and you have like a clear memory of this part of the hitman comedy sequence. And then but then you get to the end of that and you're like, so yeah, he got the book.
Uh-huh.
What book? Um,
It was like something to do with the mobster.
yeah, it
I
was
think. I
the
think.
mob book, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. It must have been, right.
Yeah, and he's captured that. He's
Yeah.
bottled it. He's displayed it for us, and it's fascinating. And the thing that like the thing that I think I really love is while you're having those experiences of kind of just like sitting here waiting for this movie to start making sense, you're also just kind of enamored by the scene to scene vignettes, as you're talking about.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
you know, you mentioned the hitman vignette, like great. The Betty auditioning scene
Yeah.
is remarkable filmmaking.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's just absolutely captivating. Just every part of it, the ways in which it's very cheekily like critiquing this whole system, with you know the producer like very uncomfortably touching her the whole time, the director just like basically just speaking nonsense,
Yeah.
and the absurd, like that everyone in the room knows it's nonsense and yet no one's saying anything. And then and then her performance, which is amazing,
Yeah. Yeah.
just incredible.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I am in love with I watched that sequence and I'm like, I am in love with this movie. And then you cut from that to what else, and they're just like, wait, I'm trying to figure this out. I have to talk about this on a podcast tonight.
Yeah.
Pause, let's take a step back. And like it is like these different parts of you, like the story analyst part of me pushing against just the appreciator, the cinephile in me, that's just like, look at this, look at the construction of this, it's amazing. And I don't know, it's just
Yeah.
so hard to process it all.
He's really toying with us. So you just said two things that I want to ping off in two totally different directions. So I'm going to try to pin down both inside my brain. The first one is the hilarious like contrast in acting level across the movie,
Mm-hmm.
which 100% has to be intentional. Where
Sure.
you have these very in the person of Naomi Watts specifically, you have scenes that are very stilted. And I'm thinking specifically of like when she first leaves the airport and gets in the taxi. I was like, oh my God, like what is that? And then I was like, okay, this has got to be like bad acting on purpose.
Yeah.
Because like it's not just her, it's the woman she's talking to. They both sound like they're reading off of a script, like note cards somebody's holding up off screen. It's like, oh my God, this is awful. This is extremely bad. And I was like, okay, well, what are we doing with it? We're doing something. Maybe this is fake, or maybe it is fake. Like it's the first, if we believe that, that version of the character is sort of a invention or a fantasy of the more tragic version of the character, then that's her, that's pretend. And the
Mm-hmm.
fact that the acting is bad is an indication of that, possibly, right? I'm not all in on any particular theory, but I think that's
Sure.
possible. And then we
Mm-hmm.
contrast that with like the best moment of acting in the world, which is the audition scene you were just describing. So it's like definitely not that Naomi Watts is not a good actor. wild contrast across the course of the movie. And in fact, I think there are certain actors who are just acting as though they were in a different movie. Like the guy who plays the director, I don't know what the hell to make of that character.
Justin Trudeau.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what movie does he think he's in, you know? And again, I think it's intentional. I think it's like this drawing attention to the artifice of these elements, the
Yeah. Yeah.
fakeness of it, the fakeness of Hollywood, the fakeness of acting.
Right.
It all gets mixed in there.
Yeah, yeah. And how much of this is fake? By the way, I said Justin Trudeau, which is the Prime Minister of Canada. I meant Justin Thoreau is what I meant.
Close enough.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. The fake, like just the fact that we have people playing multiple characters is the movie commenting on the fakeness of it all. And then like they go to they go to a performance, they go to the Silencio, and someone is standing on stage basically telling them and us it's all fake.
Yeah.
It's all pre-recorded. The music you're hearing right now, you're not actually hearing. And then we have this beautiful, lovely performance, this touching performance that we're moved to tears by this woman singing, and then she collapses, and the singing continues because like they got us. Like the guy stands on stage and tells us over and over again beforehand this is all pre-recorded. It's nothing's happening now. And then this woman like blows us away with the emotionality of the performance. And then Lynch goes, "You fucking forgot, didn't you? You forgot. Like I'm gonna have her collapse, and the music's gonna continue." And it's like, oh yeah, this was all fake. Remember, it was all pre-recorded. Nothing is happening in the moment, and that is movies, right? That is movies.
Yeah, and Betty and Rita are sort of our proxy. They're getting sucked into the performance.
Yeah.
And then when the woman faints and the singing continues, they become like extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's like the moment when their part of the story starts to unravel.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, everything about their story felt like a movie. and then they things begin to get weird. They go back home, and then we go into full dream logic where one of them just disappears, and then there's a thing on the ground and the other one disappears.
Yeah.
They just, with no explanation. And then she wakes up, and it's, and the fact that she wakes up, it really feels like, yeah, that was like the termination of a dream where as you begin to wake up, the wheels kind of come off, very often, at least when you're dreaming. Just as a parenthetical, this is not the other thing I wanted to say, but like, if the first thing you do when you wake up is like, sit up and just like close your eyes and just do nothing except try to remember what just happened, like as if you're trying to remember what happened 30 seconds ago right now, and you just sit with that for like, I don't know, 2 to 5 minutes at most, you'll probably remember some dreams. It's pretty reliable, but nobody ever does that. You get out of bed, you start making the coffee, you look at your phone, you flush that buffer, and once the buffer is flushed, it's gone. So just FYI, I mean, maybe you already know that, but most
the thing I found that when I do remember my dreams is it is the dreams I have after my alarm has gone off for the first time, but before I've actually gotten up because I've fallen back asleep, and I think that makes sense, right? Because I think the process of going through that sleep cycle like deletes a lot of the stuff from your mind.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that the most recent things that happened when I was only kind of down deep, but not fully there, are the things I remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I want to try that, but I also don't, because I don't know how to deal with with remembering my dreams, because some weird shit in there sometimes.
Yeah. And it's usually just not a thing you feel like doing first thing in the morning.
Yeah. No,
which is why I, stopped doing it. It's just sort of tedious, actually. I mean, it's cool, but also that's just the last thing you feel like doing first thing in the morning. So whatever. So the other thing you said that I thought was definitely worth drilling down on. You were I don't remember exactly the words, but you were gesturing at the fact that we are seeing things that are happening, and we're sort of almost like pretending to ourselves that we understand what just happened, and then just moving along.
Yeah.
And the scene where he, I think, kind of lampshades this idea, actually, is when the director goes to talk to the cowboy, which is already a hilarious sort of dream element.
I love it so
And
much.
and the cowboy says just like the most cryptic, incoherent thing ever. And what's funny is in the moment, I kind of went like, you can't see me, but I'm sort of doing that like slow nod thing where I'm like, yeah, I think I get it. And then the director character is like, yes, I agree. And then the cowboy says, now, did you say you agree because that's what I wanted to hear, or did you actually understand what I said? Oh, I understood what you said. What did I say? And then the director, and then you or me, I should speak for myself.
Uh-huh.
I was like, I have no idea what he just said, but but in the moment I felt like I was like, yeah, I understood that and I agreed with
Uh-huh.
it. And then the director sort of fumblingly rearticulates it, and it's basically kind of what you kind of sort of thought he said, but not really because you didn't really understand it. But I believe what he said was like, yeah, your attitude shapes the outcomes you get in life, and then
Mhm.
the director says it in a much more straightforward way, and you're like, yeah, of course, that's what he said. It's like, no, you didn't understand that in the moment,
Yeah.
and that's exactly the thing. That's exactly the like something happened. You didn't understand it. You kind of went like, yeah, sure, and then and then you just don't ever revisit the fact that you didn't really understand it, and that's
Yeah.
an embarrassing amount of cognition actually looks like this if you pay attention to it.
I
um,
I love that, and I really like this as like an examination of what it means to be a cinephile and an appreciator of films like this that don't make a lot of sense. That like
mhm.
there is a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure to like look at a movie like this and be like, yeah, I loved that one. I totally got it. Like I yeah, like and everyone's just like collectively being like nobody knows what the fuck it meant, but like we're all like afraid to admit that to each other, and
Uh-huh.
so we're all just like, yeah, I really loved like the exploration of the themes and like, and you're just bullshitting, you're just
Yeah.
bullshitting.
Yeah.
And Lynch, I think this fits too because Lynch really hates like interpretations of his movies, or rather, what I should say is like it's not like Lynch hates people interpreting his films because that'd be ridiculous. He hates kind of exactly what you and I are doing right now, which is he hates people talking to other people about what they thought the movie meant, um, because in his mind, every single person that watches something develops their own meaning from it, and the second another person shares what it means to them, you have inevitably and and inescapably altered what the person thinks the movie's about now,
Yeah.
because you have brought your perspective to them, and that drives him crazy. This is why he does not tell people what the movie's about. There's some creators out there that are like really, they make a movie, about something, and they do want people to know what the movie is about. Like either they make the movie so like clear what the movie's talking about, or like you get an interview with them and they'll just be like, yeah, so I really wanted to talk about this and this is how I did it. That is not Lynch. And so I do think this is part of this is him kind of poking fun and or at least releasing some venting some frustration about how people have interpreted his stuff in the past.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's interesting, right? I mean, it's I get what he's saying. Like,
Mhm.
I think there is a lot of art that is um that does not lend itself to being broken down into stuff that can be verbalized. It loses its something. There's some numinous quality to it that is destroyed in the process of trying to conceptualize and break down into language.
Mhm.
I think that's true. I think that's true. I think if you look at an abstract painting, if you and I look at a Rothko together, like as soon as we start talking about it, we've kind of destroyed whatever it was that we were experiencing about it. Because there's no there's no formal structure there, or towards the extent that there is, that's not what's important about it.
Mhm.
um now you and I like discussing narrative, and I think discussing narrative, like narrative, is the kind of thing that lends itself to being talked about.
Yeah.
But I think that's why you and I sort of it's been really fun doing these blind spot episodes, but it's been much more difficult doing these blind spot episodes because I feel like a lot of the movies we've covered have had this quality, have
Yeah.
had this sort of
Yeah.
numinous quality where even as I'm watching it, I'm like, I I can say things about this movie, but it feels like you're just talking about, like, you know, the paintbrushes that Picasso must have used to paint this painting. And it's like, well, that's a thing you can say about a Picasso, but that's not like cutting to the heart of it because it's very, very, very difficult to do. It's very difficult to articulate
Yeah.
the things that actually matter about art when the art is very good. Um,
Yeah, and I mean, what I would say is one of the reasons I love this movie, and I really like Lynch in general, sometimes is I I feel this pressure a lot of times, and I think I'm not alone in this. I think people, when you're experiencing art, whether it be movies or paintings or books or what have you, like you feel this strong urge and desire to have the correct opinion on it, right? Like you want to walk out of this thing and say, well, this is what I thought it about, and I thought it was good because this, and you want the consensus of the thing to be that. Like it is comforting. It is part of our whole, we are a social animal. We like being part of the group, and I feel that pressure sometimes when I'm getting here in front of a microphone and like I'm gonna talk about my interpretation of this thing, and I feel a lot of pressure to just go out before I say it, just go out and check, make sure that this interpretation is one that has been shared by people.
mhm.
Or I'm going to say something and then get an email the next morning that'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about? The movie's about this, not
Uh-huh.
any of that nonsense. um the thing about this movie, though, is I don't feel that at all.
Yeah,
And I think it's just because this movie is so incomprehensible at times
yeah,
that, like, I feel the freedom of, I could say this movie's about whatever the fuck I want to,
yeah,
and just screw the rest of y'all. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
yeah.
And I think that's so important, and I think that's so freeing. And like I think this is a better attitude to have. Is, well, this is just what I thought about it, and let's figure that out. And so maybe it has to be a movie like this that is so dreamlike and so, I keep wanting to say layered, but it's not even that it's layered. It's just that the the layers are not stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, another similar metaphor could be like a sculpture, where it's a slightly different thing when you look at it from any angle.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, it's uh, it permits endless different interpretations. Yeah, I totally agree with what you were saying. By the way, like I set aside some time for myself to think about it and not see what anybody else thought about it, and then I
Mhm.
was like, I really want to know what other people think about this. Not to be like I want to see what the answer is, but just to be like, what is the general feeling of like how do people approach this? And
Mhm.
one thing I saw is like Naomi Watts kind of endorses that sort of straightforward theory that I think you mentioned a minute ago, where it's like the two women characters in the beginning of the movie are basically in the imagination of Diane, and Diane is actually the real person, or the true version of the
Mhm.
character, and that's what's really happening, and sort of endorsed by Naomi Watts, at least in one interview. And it's like that's cool to know, but like that doesn't mean that that's true
Right.
either, and um it is an interesting information that like the actress portraying the character kind of had this sense of what was going on, but you're still totally permitted to have other interpretations. It's
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is in my mind the most straightforward of the interpretations,
Yeah,
because like if you look at this, the last part of the movie as the reality, and then this as a dream, it's like, oh well, this is why she brings the Rita character back into her life, because she loves this woman and wants to be with this woman, and this woman doesn't want to be with her, so she invents this dreamlike scenario for them to be reunited again, right?
Yeah.
And you could even like see like Rita's desire to discover and remember reality is like her insecurities at this fantasy that she's constructed for herself kind of poking their way through, right? Like just
Uh-huh.
like
Yeah.
the pieces around them, the mob and the director and all these things, and the names of who they really are kind of poking their way into the dream, and like threatening to destroy this thing that she's built for herself in her mind, this place where she can be happy and in love with this woman that she clearly loves.
Yeah. No, no, I agree. It's an interpretation. As interpretations of this movie go, when you hear it, you're like, yeah, okay, sure. Like you can't exactly reject it. Part of the reason you can't reject it is that any interpretation that claims that 80% of the movie is a dream is difficult to reject, because it's like, well, yeah, I mean, if it was a dream, then anything could have happened in there, and you could have been like, well, it's fine that that doesn't hang together with the rest of the stuff because it was just a dream. So it's sort of anytime you introduce the idea that something that's happening is a dream, then you kind of free yourself from the need for consistency,
Sure,
um,
sure.
which is fine. I was
It
just
can be
remembering
maddening, but
yeah,
it
yeah,
is fine, at least in this case.
the scene with the mob guy and the espresso, and the all of the, like, speaking of dreams, like you really become invested in, like, okay, they got the espresso, they're so anxious, they're so stressed out about this, they've got the espresso. I'm sorry, sir, that what happened last time with the espresso won't happen again. This is the finest espresso, imported straight from Norway or whatever. It's going to be perfect. And then he
Mhm.
puts the espresso in his mouth and he spits it out into the napkin and spends like 45 seconds spitting and disgustingly. And it's hilarious. It's so like, but like, part of what's funny is that it's like uncomfortable too, right?
Yeah.
It's not just funny. The nature of humor in the movie is actually something I wanted to talk more about. And I know we talked a little bit about the scene with the hitman being kind of comic in a very dark way. But like the whole thing where the director goes back to his house and his wife is sleeping with, I guess we'll find out later, is the pool boy. There's like wacky comedy music playing the whole time,
Mhm.
and then he like pours paint on her jewelry, and then they like wrestle, and the this wacky music is continuing to play. It's absurd and goofy and silly,
Yeah.
and I guess at this point I'm like, is there more to it? Am I missing something? Am I missing something? Like, is it meant to be more than just funny? I mean,
Well,
almost certainly yes.
and then there's almost the cartoonishly comedy scene that plays with those characters after that, where the
Mhm.
mobster shows up at the house looking for Adam, the director, and it's just the two people there, and it's them like trying to fight him, and him just like easily dispatching them because he's this giant mob man, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and it is kind of absurdist humor in this really interesting way, and God, the Adam character is so weird. The director character is so weird because in some
yeah,
ways I think this is Lynch making fun of this director type, for sure, and he's doing a lot of critique of the industry, I think, with a lot of this movie. Um, and then you have sequences like him going to the hotel and the manager at the hotel knocking on his door and saying, I'm sorry, buddy, but your card was just rejected. And he's like, I paid in cash. He goes,
uh-huh,
oh, yeah. Well, two people from the bank just came here and they said your line of credit's been denied.
uh-huh.
And you're like, but he paid. And then he gets out his wallet and he's like, but I have all this cash here. Yeah, I know, man. Just you got to get out of here.
You just, yeah, you're I'm trying to tell you to get out of here is what's happening. He's very ashamed that he has to tell him to get out of
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Probably, I mean, my interpretation of that was like, the mob wants you, and I need you to get out of my hotel, and
Mhm.
I'm trying to save face here. God. So I found one amusing thing while looking around. I found what purports to be David Lynch's 10 clues to unlocking this thriller, which were part of the
I saw
2002
these as well.
DVD.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to read all of them, but it's really hilarious to me actually, because I'm just going to read number 6. Notice the robe, the ashtray, the coffee cup. And I'm like, man, you're just fucking with us.
I really think this is just him fucking with us. I read every single one of these, and I'm like, this guy is having the time of his life.
Uh-huh. Because these are not clues to unlocking the thriller. These are more these what these feel like are like more sort of nonsensical dream utterances, where it's like, what do you mean? I mean, and then you think about it, you're like, okay, yeah, she's wearing. There's a few scenes where people wear robes, I guess. There's the ashtray that the woman comes to get back. What is it significant that she had the ashtray specifically? Did someone smoke, or she smoked? No, someone else smoked. Wait a minute, you're just. This is not what a clue is. It's maddening, right? It's like he just shot a bunch of splinters into my brain with these questions. Really quite genius, actually, if that was his intent. Really good, really funny. Maybe we're wrong, and maybe these are the 10 clues to unlocking the thriller, and we would totally understand the movie if we.
It could be very possible, but the thing I know for sure that mulhollanddrive.net is a thing that probably drives David Lynch insane.
Uh-huh. Probably, yeah.
Because it has the 10 clues, and then it has here's information on each clue. Pay particular attention to the beginning of the film. At least 2 clues are revealed before the credits.
Uh-huh. I don't even remember what
Really?
happens before the credits, actually. I literally don't remember.
There's like this noise of like someone hard breathing.
Okay.
It's the only thing I remember, and it's like, is this a point of view shot of someone about to go to sleep? I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. Like, what, we talk about there's no wrong answer here and the freedom of that. I fully believe this is just him fucking with people. Like just 100%. Like,
Uh-huh.
what is felt, realized, and gathered at the Club Silencio? That's not a clue. That's just like, hey, watch that scene.
Uh-huh.
What happened there?
Yeah. Maybe think about it more than you have been thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, if there is an intent to these questions, I suspect it's more like he's nudging you to think about the movie more open-mindedly, perhaps, rather than because these aren't, these are very far from being the sorts of clues that you would offer for an actual mystery story or an actual thriller. Except, some of them almost sound like they ought to be. Like, one of them is who gives a key and why, and you're like, okay, in a normal mystery, the key would have a very particular role, and there would be like a lock that it goes into, and there would be one key. And in this movie, the key is obviously more of a metaphorical object and not a thing meant to open a lock. And then of course there are multiple keys and multiple locked doors that obviously when you presumably mean the key that's a token of the murder, but maybe you don't. See, this is the thing. He's in my head. He's driving me insane. It's great though. Like that's why this movie is beloved, is because it refuses to get to that point where you're just like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can safely put it back on the shelf in my brain and feel like satisfied and feel like I completed the assignment, which was to understand the movie.
Yeah.
You just never get there.
No. And yet this is like the movie is allowed to exist on this level where you do not understand it. I do not understand this movie. I don't know what this movie's about, but I love watching it. I do. I genuinely love watching this movie. I think it's so fun. Like, I was smiling and shaking my head this whole time because I'm just like, oh, Lynch, you're having fun here. Like, I think there's a lot of people that have a very like a pessimistic interpretation of this film, and I think that's fair because like this movie doesn't end good, right? Like this has this woman kills herself,
Hmm.
uh, but like it's so weird and like you don't even know, like you don't even really understand who this character is barely because you've been with the Betty character the whole time. And then
Hmm.
when she kills herself, we cut to images of Betty and Rita again smiling and being happy, and it's like, oh, well, maybe you got like, I don't know. It just this so much of this movie feels to me like it's just teasing us in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
and so I can't look at it like as a dark film. Like it's a noir, I guess technically, but I just can't look at it as like a dark film.
Yeah. I agree. It definitely didn't leave me. Um, I mean, speaking of Lynch, we just recently watched Blue Velvet.
Yeah.
That struck me as a darker film than this one. I think it's more straightforward,
Hmm.
kind of in every way. Although it is fairly Lynchian, it's still pretty straightforward narratively.
Yeah.
And that left us with a much that's a much darker movie. That's I think a very much darker movie
Yeah.
that leaves you feeling kind of sick and and bad and like, oh my god, kind of bad, feeling kind of bad about humanity, whereas this
Yeah.
movie actually had a lot of kind of lightness to it.
Yeah. I mean, there's tragedy of like love lost and these things, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think even the stuff like that this is a movie critical about Hollywood. It certainly is. This is a movie like, sitting up there on Mulholland Drive looking down at this the beauty that is Hollywood and the potential there, and knowing that so much of the game is that game is rigged. But I also think this movie is really reverential to Hollywood and filmmaking in general. Like we haven't talked about it much, but Lynch uses a lot of like he's recalling and using images and styles of classic Hollywood films in this movie a lot, like a lot. There's there's a lot of flourishes, I think, of Lynch, like saying like, oh, these movies of the 50s that I really loved, and like he's it's as deeply reverential to old Hollywood, I think, while at the same time being incredibly critical of the whole industry,
mm,
all of it.
yeah, that was I definitely saw this. We spend so many um shots that are just literally showing the Hollywood sign.
Hmm.
It's almost like that's one of the many elements of the movie where I wondered if there was some specific meaning to when we showed the Hollywood sign, because it happens so often. It's like, what, is this, the fact that it's juxtaposed with such and such scene meant to indicate some specific idea about that scene, perhaps. I don't know. I don't, or maybe he's just reminding us. But yeah, I'm trying to connect to what you just said, where it's like he's continually reminding us, like, all of this sleaze, all of this depravity and hypocrisy and manipulation and using people. It's all in Hollywood. It's all in
Hmm.
Hollywood. It's about
Hmm.
Hollywood. But at the same time, yeah, I think the art, the beauty and the art of it, he's also sort of in love with.
Yeah.
And there's definitely that push and pull for him.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that is Mulholland Drive.
Yep.
I want to watch this movie again right now. I just want to. I do like, and that doesn't always happen to me, but I want to watch. I want to go watch this movie again.
Yeah, I know I'll watch it again someday. I think I need to process it a bit more
It's fair.
first. But yeah.
That's fair. That is very fair. All right, so Matt, that was your last pick. We're done with your picks.
All right.
We have my final pick left, which is Tokyo Story, and then we're going to we collectively have picked the number one film, Jean Dielman, because we neither of us had ever seen the number one film of all time, and so we felt like we should fix that. So we got two to go on this whole thing.
I am having so much fun, and
Me too.
can't wait for the last two.
Me too. This is great. This is great.
Do 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 doof.
All right, Matt. Movies are so back, man. Movies are so back.
Yeah, they took a couple years off, but they're
You,
back.
you thought they were gone. but they're so back because
Uh-huh.
the newest trailer for Furiosa just dropped today. This is the prequel to Mad Max Fury Road, I believe directed by George Miller still, starring Anna Taylor. Is it Anna or Anya?
Anya, I think.
Anya Taylor-Joy as Furiosa, the character played by Charlize Theron in the first movie. And man, this looks fucking great.
Yeah.
What did you think of the trailer?
I mean, I agree. I think all I needed to know was Anya Taylor-Joy, George Miller. It's got Chris Hemsworth in there, and then
I love when Chris Hemsworth is having fun. He's so good.
And it looks like he's having fun here. And the movie visually just looks so much like Fury Road. It's like, oh, okay, it's a Fury Road sequel with the same director. And I have full confidence this is going to be awesome. And the trailer looks fun. The trailer looks like it's got a lot of cool shit happening.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's so exciting. This was one of my favorite. Like, I just love the way Miller shoots action. Like, the way he shoots action is so hectic and insane, but also so clear. It's just he's a master at it. He's a true master at this thing. And I think for a while there, they weren't sure if this film was going to happen. Like, it's been how many years since Fury Road?
I don't know. Feels like a lot.
2015, that movie, because it was almost been 10 years by the time this movie comes out since Fury Road. That is insane. So yeah, for a while they weren't sure if this movie was going to happen, and then it started happening, and here we are. It's coming out next year. I'm so like, man, movies. I need to get to the theater more.
Yeah. Well, you haven't been missing much, Scott. But
I know.
They are gonna start doing movies again, though. So
it's really exciting.
Yeah.
Like, Dune's coming. This is coming. It's great.
Yeah. Dune. Yeah, they couldn't release Dune because they were still taking a break from doing movies. You see.
Yeah. There we go. So now movies are back. Dune also back.
Yep.
George Miller's 78 years old. Do you know that? 78 years old.
I mean, I felt like he was already super old when the last one was released, 9 years ago. So
have you seen Happy Feet?
No.
So Happy Feet is the Penguin film directed by George Miller. And this thing happened where we had to buy the Rudolph movie for my son to watch, like the Rankin and Bass Rudolph film. We just had to do that, and it wasn't available to rent anywhere. We had to buy it, so I bought it on Apple, and we watched it. And while I was there, like, looking at it in my purchases, I happened to notice that I own Happy Feet for some reason. I don't remember buying this movie. No idea how this happened. But my son is like on a Penguin kick, and he saw it and then said, I want to watch Penguin. So we watched Happy Feet. This is an insane movie. This is an absolutely insane movie. It is a movie about emperor penguins that communicate and fall in love via singing. And then to one of them is born a penguin voiced by Elijah Wood that cannot sing but can dance. And Robin Williams is playing like 6 different characters in this movie, and they're all insane. And Happy Feet's dad is like supposed to be like Elvis Penguin. Matt, this is just, it's a wild movie. Can I spoil the movie for you? It's been like literally.
You can spoil it for me, sure.
20 years. So the plot of the movie is the aliens, which are humans, are coming and fishing up all our fish, and so the penguins are dying. So it's actually like an environmentalist message, but Elijah Wood Penguin has to go to the humans, and then he dances for them. And they're so blown away by his dancing that it solves the climate crisis. And the whole world comes together and says, no more fishing in Antarctica at all.
That's awesome. Funnily enough, before you even described that, I was making the mental comparison to Rango, of like, director who we really love goes off and directs an animated film about animals, but it's actually awesome and has an environmentalist theme partially.
That's true. So It's insane. It's insane.
You know, I feel like I've shown it to my kids, but this was probably so many years ago, and I probably wasn't paying attention, and I probably didn't know it was George Miller, so I wasn't really clued in to the fact that I should be paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
I think it's worth a watch because my son is like fascinated by it. Like there's a whole sequence where like they're chased by an orca, and it's like really scary actually.
Uh-huh.
And my wife is watching this and is like, are we okay with this? And my son's just like riveted. He's just like totally into it. It's like this is a wild movie.
George Miller's awards: Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, Happy Feet.
Happy Feet.
No other Academy Awards.
That's insane. Like the movie's good. Like it is fun. It's weird and fun in that classic George Miller way. Like it feels like What If Mad Max but penguins on ice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what's great about Rango is we get the sensibility behind pirates, and we're doing moles riding bats to chase down a menagerie of.
No, the Rango comparison is perfect, I think. Yeah. Except this has a Hugh Jackman doing an Elvis impression, so automatically better.
Apparently, it also has Hugo Weaving, which I didn't know.
Oh, I didn't know that either. Oh yeah, huh?
Good stuff.
That makes sense. And also has a lot of fun factoids about penguins. You want to learn a lot about Emperor penguins? You actually learn it from Happy Feet.
I feel like he must have gotten really into penguins.
This movie came out like, when was March of the Penguins? I feel like there was a brief time there when everyone just got like super obsessed with penguins. And I feel like this movie rode that. Yeah, March of the Penguins came out in 2005. This came out in 2006. So everyone like saw that documentary and was like, oh man, penguins. And then Miller's like, yeah, well, check this shit out. They can dance and sing now.
Yeah, this is way better than that other movie where they're just being boring and walking slowly in the cold.
Oh my god, that's a tangent, but man, Happy Feet, it's just wild.
All right.
The last thing we want to talk about, Matt, for the evening is that TV is dead now. It's dead. Netflix killed it forever.
Again? Okay.
Yeah, it's over. It's over. Movies are back. TV's gone. Pack your bags, everyone. It's over.
Yeah. I felt like movies were dead and TV was ascendant for a while there.
Yeah, you thought. But then Netflix made a Squid Game reality television show and killed TV forever.
Yeah. Forever. I guess it's probably too obvious to make the don't build the torment nexus joke here, but it's so stupid. But also obviously they were going to do this like from the moment Squid Game became popular.
From the moment Mr. Beast did this.
Yeah, that's true. Not only Mr. Beast did this, but I told you at some point months and months ago that my kids were playing Squid Game on Roblox. So somebody had basically done copies of all of the specific Squid Game games in Roblox with like the same character design and everything. But like with none of the story, obviously. So and I only watched the first season of that show or some amount of that show, so I don't even remember the full story. But yeah, there's it's so funny to me that they took this critique of the system and then they were just like, oh yeah, we can use this for the system.
The system would love this. Actually,
the system can make a lot of money off of this critique.
Don't worry, we're not killing them this time, so it's okay. It absolutely wild. Like no sense of irony at all with this whole thing. It's just incredible. I haven't watched it. I will not watch it. But just like, I don't know how you sit through Squid Game, a good show, a show that I think we liked, and then say, let's do this. I think like the creator of the reality TV show said like, anti-capitalism is not really what this show was really about. I'm like,
it's like Mulholland Drive. You can say anything you want.
Are you sure? Are you sure about that? Are you sure? It absolutely wild, man. Absolutely wild.
That's great.
I actually had the rare experience of my in-laws watched the Squid Game reality TV show first and then watched Squid Game.
Uh-huh.
And my mother-in-law was over today, and she basically said, "So we just finished Squid Game. Ugh. How did they make a reality show of this?" I was like,
Oh,
"Yeah,
God.
good,
Yeah.
good point.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you should
Uh-huh.
have told. You should have told Netflix."
Yeah, you feel like there must have been some executive who was like, "Now I haven't watched the show, but I my understanding of the premise is that it's basically a game show."
Yeah.
And then
So
they
can
just,
we do that?
yeah, can we just do that?
I
Mr.
want
Beast made a
someone.
bunch of money.
I want someone to make a very like charged, like very incisive critique and satire of like globalism using the floor is lava.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's what I want now. Let's go
And
the other way. Let's
and
go. We
slime.
went from one way to the other, but let's go. Let's flip it.
Yeah. I want to bring back those old Nickelodeon shows where kids would have to do like fairly dangerous physical challenges and like
Like Guts,
guts, yeah.
Double Dare.
Double Dare, and then they get slimed at the end. And you were just so bitterly envious of them
The
because you
worst
wanted to
part.
get slimed.
The worst part of Double Dare was when you like won the thing and then got to do the obstacle course part at the end, and then like one of the obstacle course parts is the slide covered in slime that you have to climb up to get the flag, and when that one's in the course, it's just over, man.
Yeah.
It's game over. You're not going to get the flag. I'm sorry.
Yeah. They didn't really try to be fair.
Yeah. No.
I bet there's a lot of. Go ahead.
Who is the guy that hosted that? Mark something.
I don't remember.
He had like really bad germophobia and OCD, and so like, and he hosted a show where everyone gets slimed all the time, and it drove him insane. Like he literally was very painful for him to do the show.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Why? One wonders why he signed up to do that particular show, but
man, Mark Summers is his name. Okay. I don't know, man. Money?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's a good reason.
Yeah.
I think I imagine there's a lot of money to be made just sort of copying whatever Mr. Beast does and making it into like a show, because he has such good instincts for what's going to be good content, and then you can just watch what he does that's actually super popular and then just be like, well, he already did our audience testing for us. We can just do that. Just do the thing Mr. Beast did. Just do that.
Yeah, I mean, you're completely right. Like, I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot more of these, because I think Mr. Beast released one not too long ago that was like, I built a bunch of laser obstacle courses, and I just making people go through the lasers, and we're going to pretend the lasers kill them. Obviously, they don't, but I was like, that's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah,
it's fun to see these people try to traverse these lasers in a certain amount of time.
Yeah. Just, I mean, it's been a while since we talked about Mr. Beast, or I don't know if we've ever really done a deep dive on him, but he's really a fascinating guy, because he probably everyone knows this already, but like what he does is he comes up with like an idea of a show that he just, an episode that he just thinks is going to be good, that people are going to like, and then he pours like huge amounts of money into it because he kind of knows that he's going to make the money back.
Yeah.
And this is just like how he's built this machine, is he just continues to pour more money into each episode than any sane business person would do. But then it ends up working out spectacularly because the product that he makes is incredible and better than anything else.
Yeah.
And he also has really good instincts for like what's going to be good,
It feels like this and I think this is why it's so successful and popular, especially amongst young people, because it feels like that thing where you're a kid and you come up with this really fun idea to do a thing, but like you could never do it to the coolest extent because that would require money and skills you don't have, but like he can, right?
Yeah.
Like and that's the thing that's cool. It's like, oh, I doing like a laser obstacle course. That sounds really fun. Oh yeah, I'm gonna do it. Look, here we go. And they're big fucking lasers, and it's 10 different courses, and it's huge and ridiculous. I mean, I think it's really fascinating. I watch his stuff fairly regularly, and I like it despite the like
style,
frantic Gen Z editing that just kind of drives me insane. Like, I just like that. I do not like that style at all. And like, I think it's a testament to the quality of it that I still watch these things despite just basically can't standing the style of the videos.
Yeah, it's funny. I have like an abstract respect for him as a creator and businessman, but I don't really watch his his content, and I think that's also kind of interesting. But clearly, he's good at what he does. And
He's the second biggest channel now, right? Like, I think there's only like an Indian music channel that's has more subscriptions than he does.
You're probably right. I don't know. Yeah.
I think actually one of the things I read or I think I heard him say in an interview is he's actually having trouble getting sponsorship for some videos because like the amount of money he charges for sponsors, because he has more people watching his shit than like watch the Super Bowl, is so excessive that it's basically above any normal company's entire internet marketing budget for a year. So he was running into this real problem where like finding sponsors for his videos was getting increasingly difficult. I think people have started to see the value of it more, and so they're just allowing that budget to stretch. But that was a problem for him for a while. It was like he almost grew himself out of his business.
Yeah, that's I guess that's a good problem to have, but
sure.
I mean, but it is a real issue, because it's like if you're counting on being able to make literally millions of dollars in ad revenue for a video, and you don't get that, you can be left in a lurch. I'm not too worried about him, to be honest.
No, I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be fine. He's got like, it's one of those things where then like you see they just start doing all these side like he's got the candy bars and the burger places, and I don't know. It's just kind of wild.
And he seems to have also put a ton of thought into those products. Not so much the burger places. I think he sort of acknowledged that he made some mistakes there, but I think
there's a lawsuit going on right now, I think.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. There's I don't want to go completely down the entire rabbit hole, but yeah, I think he made the mistake of sort of letting the quality control get outside of his purview, and then people then cut corners, and then your brand gets damaged. And I think he kind of learned from that, and then he did like the chocolate bar thing in response to that, where he's like, we're going to have really good quality, and we're not going to make that same mistake again.
Those are pretty good chocolate bars. I think his error in the chocolate thing, I saw pictures of like post Halloween stores, and it's just like hundreds of the only candy left on the shelf is Mr. Beast bars. and you know why it is, Matt? Because he named them D's Nuts. And guess what parents are not going to do when they're buying Halloween candy?
Right.
They're not going to pick up the bag of D's Nuts peanut butter chocolate bars
to give to children. Yeah. Oh my god.
So, no, but I mean, fascinating guy, really interesting thing, and I think it's going to be copied more and more. It is wild. Like he's one of the biggest entertainers amongst that generation now. Like, if not the biggest. And that's not TV. That's not movies. It's YouTube, but it's just him, really.
Yeah. Pretty much.
It's wild.
Cool.
All right. I think that's going to do it for us this week. I think that unless you had anything else you want to talk about.
Sounds good.
All right, if you have any opinions on Mulholland Drive, which I hope you do, because it's a great movie to have opinions on, or the Furiosa trailer, or Squid Game. If you've watched Squid Game, the reality TV show, let us know. What is it like?
Yeah, I do kind of want to hear people's wildest takes on Mulholland Drive.
Yeah. Matt, would you have more or less respect for the Squid Game reality TV show if they did just actually murder the competitors?
I mean, respect is a complicated word,
Just say more. It's more.
Yeah, I mean, definitely more in the sense where, it's better to be feared than loved, right?
They're dedicated to the bit.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to sign, if you were going to join the Squid Game, you'd have to sign something that says you are allowed to kill me if I fail.
I mean, that is literally what happens in the Squid Game.
And everyone knows that if you sign something that says that they're allowed to kill you, then that makes it legal.
Yeah, that is a legally binding murder.
Yep.
So let us know what you think of Squid Game or Mulholland Drive. Please focus on Mulholland Drive more than Squid Game, maybe. You can reach out to us via email at doofmedia@gmail.com, over on X at doofmedia, or on reddit.com/r/doofmedia. I think that's it.
That's correct. Yeah. And if you're not subscribed to the Doofcast, we encourage you to do so and ensure that you never miss an episode. You can find us on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere else podcasts can be found.
And if you like what we do here and want to support us, consider becoming a patron of Doof Media. You can head on over to patreon.com/Doof and sign up at any of the available levels. You get a bunch of bonus episodes of our show. You'll hear me and Matt talk about Stephen King more. You'll hear Matt and his brother talk about, I don't know, AI probably.
This week we talk about cooking. That's what we're releasing next week.
Is it okay? Is it cooking, or is it like AI recipes?
It's pretty straightforwardly about cooking. Yeah, we're just talking about cooking.
Is it like about a robot that cooks?
No, I mean, I think we probably talk a little bit about the whole AI drama that happened in the last couple of weeks, but that's not the main topic.
Wow,
we're just talking about cooking.
I might listen to this one.
We kind of got burned out on AI, like the amount of AI drama that has been happening recently. I was like losing sleep over following the whole OpenAI thing, and I'm just like, I've been talking about this nonstop. I don't really necessarily want to talk about this right now. So we talked about something else.
Sit in front of a stove and cook up a chicken parm.
Yeah, chicken parm. That's good. We didn't talk about chicken parm, but
how do you not talk about chicken parm?
You should join us to talk about chicken parm next time, maybe.
I love a good chicken parm.
Well, everybody does.
All right, let's end this episode.
Where are we?
I don't even know anymore.
Well, anyway, you can support us on Patreon, and then, if you have already done that, then you can give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Each review gives us more exposure and introduces new people to the content that we make here.
I have great respect for how you pulled us right back into the script. That was masterfully done. Good job. Next week on the show, our penultimate episode of Blind Spots, where we will be covering my fifth and final pick. We'll be talking about Tokyo Story, a movie obviously I've never seen, and I'm pretty excited about, Matt. This is like number 4 on our list.
Nice.
This is wild.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
It's better than Mulholland Drive, according to critics.
Yeah.
We'll find out why next week.
All right.
My name is Doof, and you'll do what I say. My name is Doof, and you'll do what I say.